Hello and welcome to Snack Sandwich. Today I have another quick video for you on Cap Labs. Now there's this tweet here, you can come and read this if you want. It's just talking mostly about some investments or seed rate or funding, right? Some pre-seed round. They do have a docs out, you can kind of read this. They do have a white paper as well. You can find that linked to somewhere in these tweets here, okay? So I've read through all of these docs, I've read through the white paper and so forth, and I do have a flowchart to kind of explain to you. Again, I will mention that things can change based on the future ideas, and maybe things change in the future because of whatever reason. So let's go over to the flowchart and I'll explain to you what I understand from reading these docs and this white paper and so forth. Okay, so here we are on the flowchart. We have three kind of actors, pools of people that can participate in this cap system. Okay, so we have a dollar bill who's an investor who has a lot of capital. We have a sophisticated grandma who has a large network of intelligent people. And then we have like DeFi, degen coding ninjas, super smart people who perhaps don't have a lot of capital but know a lot of cool things. Okay, so first of all, we have a grandma here and a dollar bill who have a lot of capital. So dollar bill will stake his capital inside this cap system, and he will mint out some stable coins. So if he uses USDC, maybe he will mint out cap USD. Or maybe he will put ETH and he will mint out cap ETH, right? Now there are two kinds of minting. There is an interest-bearing minting as well as a regular minting. So if he mints the regular coin, this thing is pegged to the underlying asset. So cap USD will be pegged to US dollar and cap ETH would be pegged to ETH. Now the reason for this is to allow for easy integration with DeFi protocols like Curve. They can have a stable swap pool very easily, right? And maybe you can use it as collateral, and you can use the underlying like fundamental Oracle in order to do that, as opposed to an interest-bearing token. Now the interest-bearing token, I will explain where the interest comes from in a few minutes as I go through these slides. Now grandma has some capital as well, so she's going to stake this capital into the protocol and then select the agents based on the huge network of agents that are out there. Now the main benefit of this is that the team is not the one who is trying to source the yield. It's an entire network of ninjas. Whoever wants to join this can kind of join this. They just kind of have to convince grandma that they know what they're doing, and grandma can then stake some assets to protect the protocol, and then delegate her stake to these specific agents that she trusts or thinks have a good idea. Now, what will these agents do is they will borrow dollar bill's capital from the pool. So let's say we're using ETH in this case. So dollar bill has put some ETH in here, and grandma has staked some ETH, and then she has delegated an amount to these ninjas less than her stake, right? Now you got to remember, there could be many grandmas, and they could all be staking a little bit and delegating more to them. It doesn't, but the point is the amount staked is greater than the amount delegated. Okay, so these agents will then borrow this ETH, in this case, this dollar bill's ETH, and they'll take it out and do whatever they want to do with it based on what they've explained they're going to do with it with grandma. So there are lots of exogenous yield sources that DeFi never really plugs into. So they could be using MEV. Maybe these guys understand MEV very well. They could be using ARB. They could be arbing stuff. They could be using like funding rates on SEX. They could be using any kind of RWAs like T-bills and stuff like that. Or they could be, whatever kind of ideas they have. They could also be doing traditional yield farming, like yield farming like reward tokens on a DEX or something like that. Now the point is, in order to get this capital, they're going to have to be pretty competitive to the other ninjas that are also delegated and want to borrow a dollar bill's capital. So The other benefit is that this is not a flash loan. It doesn't have to be returned in the same block. They can, use it for a couple days or what have you. The docs does mention a couple days. Maybe the amount of days is restricted, like they have to come back every once in a while to kind of check in and reborrow in order to make sure that dollar bill is getting, consistent income instead of lump summing his yield, so to speak. But the point is, it doesn't have to. It's not a flash loan that they have to return in the same block. So there might be, the strategy might require a little bit longer than a single block, right? Now, one of the requirements that they have to do is they got to bring it back after that time, right? So when they bring it back, they bring back obviously more because they did some MEV or arbing or whatever, and they got more, right? So they bring back the amount of ETH and they split it with the three parties. So grandma gets a small amount of yield, right? Dollar bill gets a amount of yield on if he's holding the interest-bearing ETH, and then the ninjas get to keep the rest. Now, what makes this I'll emphasize the point here again is that the ninja doesn't need capital. He doesn't have a lot of capital. Maybe he's got some, but he doesn't have billions of dollars like dollar bill, right? So he's able to access this large pool of money to get more profit from these strategies that he's able to perform. Okay, so that's what kind of makes it why the agent would want to participate in this, is because he's getting access to this large pool of capital in order to perform these strategies. Now, if he is late or he brings back less than he's supposed to, right, then grandma is going to get slashed. And what happens to grandma's ETH is grandma's ETH then will be used to recuperate dollar bills lent ETH, right? So her ETH is insuring his lent ETH, right? Now, then she's going to obviously reevaluate whether or not, the selected agents she's delegated to are of a value and she should continue to delegate to them or what have you. So there are a few things that, like, when I first read this, I thought about, and I'm like, well, why would the agent care about, whether or not grandma gets slashed or not? So she cares that they are bringing back yield and because she will get slashed, but why do they care if she gets slashed? And it basically comes down to a few things. Like, number one is they're making lots of money. So if she gets slashed, then she's going to undelegate her stake to him, and then he won't be able to access this capital to make these to run these strategies anymore, so their future yield is then at stake. There is the possibility that grandma knows who this ninja is, and there is a legal agreement behind the scenes between grandma and this ninja, right? So there could be that case. And then also this, ninja might be a highly reputable, firm of actors or sophisticated actors in the space, and their reputation is on the line as well. So that kind of what keeps these ninjas in line and keeps them from just, running off with that capital that grandma has basically insured, right? Now, there is no mention of a cap token, but like I showed you at the start, there was a pre-seed, so there might be a cap token. So I'm not sure how this cap token might join into this system, whether there will be a cap token or not, and whether or not there will be some sort of fee sharing or stuff like that. So I can't really speak on any fees right now, and they're not described at all inside that documentation. So that's it for today. I hope this has been interesting and useful, and thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.